You know, even in the midst of these challenging times, we find strength. As another Easter approach...
Let the record play and get your head knocking.
Dude. Weed! Dude. Weed! Dude! Weed! Dude. Weed! So guys, it's like Hitler's birthday today. And there's like an Easter movie I wanted to talk to you guys about. Here's where I'd put an intro.
If I had one.
Speaking of drug-fueled, what better way to celebrate than with the unnecessary sequel to the 1971 Rankin Bass movie about everyone's favorite secularized Easter mascot, Peter Cottontail. Why does this movie exist? I guess they didn't think the bunnies looked enough like light bulbs? Starring Miranda Cosgrove,
I should have brought along some buffalo wings.
Kenan Thompson,
Robin, attack!
Christopher Lloyd,
Nobody likes bees, they just sting people and interrupt them.
Tom Kenny,
I meant to do that!
Tom Kenny,
I want a name. Who's responsible?
and Tom Kenny.
But it's got to have enough thrust to get your payload where it's going.
So, like, first impression is, how the fuck did this movie get so much star power attached to it? Like what did they have to bribe them with?
That's good clown.
Who the fuck is this jank-ass Willy Wonka? Is that... Oh, no. Look how they massacred my boy! Okay, so I guess that's supposed to be Seymour Sassafras. He's the narrator from the first movie. Why he looks like that one bad guy from Johnny Test, I couldn't tell you, but he's our narrative framing device, and he's floating in to tell us a story. So our boy Sassafras introduces us to the whimsical, magical land of April Valley. Second impression, this makes Jimmy Neutron look like 8K Grand Canyon footage. Inside the factory, we are reintroduced to the boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Peter Cottontail. Everything seems to be going well as the bunnies are preparing for the upcoming Easter when suddenly a fire breaks out. Somebody's smoking in the egg factory, you know what I mean? I told you guys, this is the weed episode. This is the 420 special, dude.
Now, who was supposed to be watching the nougat? Come on, somebody speak up.
It turns out the fire was caused by an unmonitored batch of smoldering hot nougat. Ugh, God, that sounds fucking gross.
Nougat. You know, it's nougat. It's fluffy, it's chewy, it's partially hydrogen. Hey, wait a minute!
Apparently, it was Peter's son, Peter Cottontail Jr.'s, turn to watch the nougat. Peter grabs his chunkless and sets off to beat that ass.
I give you Peter Cottontail Jr.'s supercharged Easter basket speed shooter.
Wow! Jesus Christ, Junior's little friend there is so fucking stoned, I'm starting to think this was an intentional 420 crossover.
Cool.
Let's make bunny history.
So it turns out Junior's a little bit of a tinkerer. With one small exception. Apparently, he doesn't understand the physics that drive his contraptions.
The problem must be an imbalance between the drag coefficient and the lift coefficient.
What's that mean?
No idea.
Well, it don't take too long for old Peter Cottontail Sr. to show up, and he's none too happy to see his son with his inventive ways defying the tradition of running the Easter egg factory they have passed down through, I don't know, I'm assuming generations of rabbits. It turns out Junior's got kind of a history of failed inventions, actually. In order to set his son on the right path, Peter tells Junior about the events of the first film.
His evil trickery almost ruined Easter forever. Have I told you this before?
Once or twice.
But wouldn't you know it, him and Junior just don't see eye to eye. Junior's a starry-eyed idealist who wants to bring the future to today, while Peter thinks you should stay in the now.
The future, the future, the future! Son, we've got our paws full with the present, and we're doing just fine without your improvements.
Is there actually a hold on a sec. Is there actually a philosophical argument in this movie? Feeling misunderstood by his dad, Junior breaks out into a... Wait a minute. Is this a fucking musical? Is this a fucking musical?
Could I be more than I am? 'Cause I'm sure I do my best.
I guess the original Rankin Bass movies were musicals too, but, you know, they had charm and effort. After that obvious fade out for the commercial break, the next scene introduces us to our primary antagonist of the film.
Jack Frost. Darling, please.
Oh my god, this bitch looks like hypothermia gender-swapped Pepe the Frog. Yo, but for real guys, she kinda thick though. And we find out her name is, I'm not making this up, Jackie Frost. She paints a window with icicles and then gets blasted with a ray of sunshine. So I'm left to assume her entire motivation throughout this whole movie to freeze time solid. I'm not even kidding. That's what the conflict in this movie is time itself stopping because a ray of sunshine hit her in the face like an errant spurt of jizz. Well, it's not long before her penguin minion shows up and blasts her back to her ice fortress. Getting back to April Valley, Peter Sr. and his wife are having an argument about Junior's ambitions.
Peter, give Junior some real responsibility. He's not a little kid anymore. There must be something you could have him do.
Well, I guess this convinces Peter because he decides to give Junior a chance to do something important.
And inside, polishing the most important part, the spring of spring.
So, yeah, I guess there's a magic clock that governs the universe.
Can I, trick it out a little? Take it from analog to digital, slap on some subwoofers, really make the bass tones pop.
Junior, ever the idea man, wants to pimp my ride out of the clock, to which his dad says, Junior, how about you shut the fuck up? I'm giving you a chance here. Can you just not screw this up? Not 20 minutes ago, you almost set a fire that burned down our entire factory.
No improving, no trick outing, no upgrading.
As fate would have it, a bat spy goes off to report to his master, the villain from the first movie, that the clock is left in the hands of Junior. Did Frozen steal from this? Coincidentally enough, Irontail also happens to be on his way to see the White Witch so they can form an alliance. But not before we get her villain song.
Kissing the cold, my fantasy, comforted by the wind in the trees. This ice life is a nice life.
So, in case you missed that, the motivation for her entire plan to freeze time itself is because, my eyes, sunlight sucks, and an ice life is a nice life. Look, I'm not expecting Nathaniel Hawthorne levels of writing here, but can you work in a more believable motivation? Why do you need to be fanned? It's cold! Caught off guard at the end of her song, Irontail introduces himself and makes a proposal.
I'd wonder what's in it for you.
Revenge. Peter Cottontail stole my job. If I can't be the Easter Bunny, then I'll make sure that Easter never comes again.
He'll help her plunge the world into perpetual winter based purely on revenge. See, now that's a motivation. My favorite OTP wastes no fucking time enacting their plan. They go right on out to the clock tower. Irontail tells Junior that he's a foreign tourist returning back to April Valley after years of being gone, and Junior falls for it. You know, for a guy who builds catapults and then doesn't understand how they work, I can believe that.
Oh, dear boy, I grew up here, but I've been far away, and I've brought some friends to see dear old April Valley.
And quick side note here, I love the penguins. They're so perfect. They're such good boys. They don't hurt them. While the penguins sneak inside and attempt to steal the spring, Irontail strokes Junior's ego by attempting to compliment him on his handiwork.
A new egg delivery system?
It's just a prototype, really.
Brilliant. So original. Of course, new ideas aren't really appreciated around here.
Well, Irontail manages to convince Junior to leave his post as he'll watch the tower for him.
Don't worry, Junior. I'll finish polishing the clock.
You will?
With pleasure.
So Jackie and Irontail steal the spring and hightail it out of there. Back in April Valley Town Square, the calendar unveiling ceremony reveals that something is horrendously wrong.
March 32nd. There's no such thing as March 32nd.
Oh my God!
What?
The sky blackens as the tone takes a jarring shift to a more dramatic, a serious threat. Like, I honestly thought that bunnies were going to start dying left and right the way they were presenting this. Peter gets together his best men as they discover that Junior's written a suicide note. Okay, no, it's not a suicide note, but he takes responsibility for his actions and decides to set out to fix things.
I made a mistake. Now I've got to try to make things right.
Back at the Ice Fortress, Jackie and Irontail's victory celebration is cut short when they realize, oh yeah, we could just stop all the other months and just make it like winter forever. But not before she decides to ask old Irontail how he got his name and, Irontail. Well, these Rankin Bass movies, they're always full of whimsy and charm and magic. No, it turns out a kid ran over his fucking tail on a skateboard. I mean, I guess props to them for having the balls to go there, but you didn't need to do that now, You're really trying to prove yourself to me as dark and edgy now? It's a little late in the game. Meanwhile, Junior's hauling ass through a field of sunflowers trying to recover the spring when God decides to give him the bird.
Ow, you hurt my beak!
Well, this bird's name is Flutter. According to his mom, he's smaller than the other birds, which I guess explains why he flies like Flappy Bird, and his mom entrusts him with the task of helping Peter protect the Clock of Summer. When Flutter and Junior come across the Clock of Summer, it's already covered in icicles, and they meet— Holy shit! Jesus fucking Christ! What the fuck is that? Stop! Stop!
They stole the Son of Summer from inside the clock!
The abomination tells Junior and Flutter that without the summer sun clock power, the crops won't grow and the baby birds won't hatch. This motivates Flutter to continue on the quest with our boy. Next up, we get a glimpse into Fall World, where a mouse that sounds suspiciously like iCarly drags a giant ear of corn while a cat attempts to slaughter her. As soon as she escapes the cat's clutches, a hawk swoops in and grabs her.
Help! Hey, did you hear that?
No.
Help! Well, did you hear that?
No, I did not hear that cry for help.
The ever-cowardly Flutter overcomes his fear and anxiety and decides to give chase to the hawk. Was this a character arc? Was it?
It's about time.
God damn, Dan Schneider's lab rat. Can you show a little respect? The guy's trying to save you. So in what is admittedly a pretty cool chase scene, by this movie's standards, Flutter is able to rescue Mouse Girl from the clutches of the hawk. But not before giving us a fake-out death. Did this movie really need that? The little Mouse Girl asks our heroes if they'd like to get a snack, since they can't go on with empty stomachs.
Oh, come on. Think. Brain blast!
So Junior has a brain blast, and it turns out one of his inventions, quote unquote, actually works, giving him a renewed sense of self-confidence. It's so fucking stupid. By the time our three heroes have filled their bellies and made their way to the fall clock, the penguins are already there stealing the leaf thing off it. Having procured 3 of the 4 seasonal MacGuffins, our villain duo seems to be having a little tiff.
Stop being such a control freak.
Don't call me that.
Control freak?
No, my dear.
Why? I don't know. This is like shoehorned in conflict. They were getting along perfectly fine otherwise until he calls her my dear. I mean, it's these frigid women in their... There's a pun and a half for you. These frigid women in their 40s, when menopause hits, it hits like a bitch. Maybe that's why she was getting fanned earlier. So Junior, drawing from the one successful engineering endeavor he's ever had in his life, recreates his catapult system, flings acorns at the two, and then proceeds to allow them to escape anyway. The funk doesn't last for long, as our 3 gallant knights encounter Colorland, the dwelling place of the one and only Seymour Sassafras. So apparently the narrator's just part of the story, and there's an additional land now, in addition to the 4 seasons, that covers all the colors of the rainbow? Is this, I don't really get the lore of this place. You know what? Don't need to. Not even gonna think about it. I'm not gonna lie, there's something strangely adorable about Christopher Lloyd voicing this strange little cartoon man. Nevertheless, he gives them access to his incredible sassafras bubble as a means of transport to get to the ice fortress. But not before setting them off with a poignant life lesson about being in the now.
Why do I spend so much time dreaming about tomorrow?
It's important to dream about tomorrow, Junior, but you have to take care of today. It's a classic today-tomorrow problem.
I swear to God, if this whole thing turns out to be a really long, dumb commercial for mindfulness meditation, I'm out of here. So a pointless song passes, and the writers wake up from their nap and realize they have to progress the plot. Our heroes are stuck in a bubble drifting throughout the nighttime sky. If you're gonna have a Deus Ex Machina in your movie, you might as well make it into a crazy clown kraken. Seriously, this thing is actually going to give me nightmares. Me, an adult. Nightmares.
The North Wind? The North Wind? Is that what I look like to you?
So this weird-looking fuck turns out to be some kind of a wind spirit, but he's like an off-brand wind spirit.
I'm not one of these big celebrity winds. Have you ever heard of the East by Southwest wind? Well, you're looking at him.
I want to talk to fish!
So he kind of huffs and puffs them all the way to the winter ridge so they can get to the winter clock, and what's going on anymore in this? So after a way too long scene of East infection blowing our three heroes... Oh my God, I just said... They're at the winter place. They're at the winter place. They're there. Okay, they're there. When our heroes bust into the ice fortress, they find Jackie fitting Irontail for a king's robe. Are these two supposed to like each other or hate each other? Because I swear to God, they go back and forth between the two every other scene.
Speaking of perfect fits,
What? Why are you looking at me like that?
we make a charming couple, you and I. The whole world is our frozen oyster.
And finally, I get to rule it all.
You?
Well, you didn't think you'd rule it.
Women, am I fucking right, folks? After Mouse Girl eats away at the ice sculpture the other seasonal clock parts are trapped in, right down the hall from the throne room, they finally notice that they have intruders. After chasing each other through a Mario 64 level, they end up in a giant winter wasteland with the winter clock.
There!
They get cornered and captured by a giant snowball. Seriously, how is she not just one? She could win, like right now. She can go back to Easterland and just take over.
I've got an idea.
Junior escapes saying he has a plan.
I think it wise we dispose of these forever.
Oh, my pleasure.
I meant these.
Before Irontail and Frost get the chance to throw the other seasonal clock pieces into oblivion, Junior emerges carrying the snowflake crystal thing of the ice clock thing. This plunges the world into an existential state of non-existence. There is quite literally no time right now. Junior proceeds to threaten Jackie and Frost with the destruction of the winter snowflake.
Think you're pretty cute, eh, tiny buddy? Pretty cute, cute.
But before either party has a chance to destroy these ancient artifacts, the Mouse Girl actually does something useful. This causes Jackie and Irontail to fight yet again over something petty. Would you two just fuck already? I've been waiting 8 seasons. Just do it. This results in the two of them falling into oblivion themselves. Wouldn't you know it, Flutter goes in after them and is able to save the clock artifacts from the brink of death, I guess. Can they die? I don't know. Fixing the winter clock by putting it back into service, the three of them need a way to get to the other kingdoms and restore their respective clocks.
But how are we gonna get back home?
Well, usually when I get on these kind of rides, I get real sick.
Luckily, Antoine shows up with my calamari appetizer and proceeds to fly them all back to the different kingdoms, where they part ways.
Bye, Flutter! Thanks, I had fun. Bye, y'all.
Junior finally makes his way back home and restores spring! Spring is back! Spring is sprung! A celebration ensues. But not before our favorite anime couple shows up for one last fight.
I'd like to freeze it forever.
Irontail.
They threaten Cottontail Sr. with ice magic, which he skillfully dodges using Ultra Instinct until he's knocked on his feet, leaving him to be saved by the heroic act of Junior using the keychain from earlier to deflect a blast, freezing Jackie, saving the day. But not before Jackie freezes Irontail and he drowns in a river while everyone cheers.
Fluffy!
You know, son, we're having a little trouble with the nougat machine.
Our story concludes with Peter Cottontail Sr. telling his son that he has officially become a man. Cottontail Sr. asks Junior for his ideas and innovations in the factory, thus proving that nobody learned a damn thing. After all, this was entirely Junior's fault.
Bring in every girl and boy, a basket full.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I forgot one more thing. In typical early 2000s animated kids movie fashion, they just couldn't resist the urge to go out on a song and dance number.
Here comes Peter Cottontail.
Here we have a bland holiday song trying to be turned into a Green Day style alternative rock song. I'll give it to Peter Jr. though. He is rocking his little heart out. Look at that motherfucker. He's just vibing though. He's just vibing. The last thing I will note about this movie is that Jackie and Irontail definitely still hanging out together. They like each other. Happy ending. And that's Here Comes Peter Cottontail the movie. It's in all honesty, it's not terrible. It's so bad at some points that it's funny and entertaining, and the worst thing it really does is become boring in some segments, but not before wearing out its welcome anyway. All in all, it's kind of just a dumb, cute movie, and it would probably make a good yearly tradition if you were gonna get really fucking blasted and watch this. I mean, if we're gonna call 420 a holiday, you might as well establish some traditions for it, you know? Whoa, hold on a sec, guys. My buddy Bernie's calling me.
Hello, Dusk. It's me, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. I just got done grifting another election year with young, dumb socialists. I overheard you talking about making 420 into a national holiday, and I have to say, I absolutely agree. Because despite any viruses plaguing our nation, along with any egregious violations of the United States Constitution, the most important thing for all Americans is to get together and light up a big Scooby-Dooby-Doo!